Look, Trump took a selfie with two kids. Everyone immediately noticed one heartbreaking thing. President Donald Trump and Vice President Mike Pence met the children of fallen Fresno officer Sergeant Rod Lucas at a memorial for fallen officers at the U.S. Capitol. The Lucas children Elijah and Jaya were in D.C. for a ceremony on National Peace Officers Memorial Day. The Fresno Bee reports that Lucas was among 118 officers who died in the line of duty, in 2016. Lucas's name is now engraved in the granite wall of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial. Lucas died an accidental death at the hands of one of his law enforcement colleagues on October 31, 2016. They were shifting guns around, talking about different ways to carry a second gun, when a gun was accidentally discharged, and a bullet struck Lucas in the chest. Investigators determined no foul play was involved. Rather, Lucas, a 20-year veteran of the force, was having a conversation with a 9-year veteran detective about the various ways to carry backup weapons when the shot was fired. Lucas's widow, Jami, attended the memorial with Elijah and Jaya. Jami was escorted by Deputy Frankie Barba and Fresno County Sheriff Margaret Mims. Following the memorial for fallen officers, Sheriff Mims tweeted a thank you to President Trump. What do you think about this comment below? Breaking, Trump just hired Sheriff Clark, but you won't believe what his shocking new position is. If there's one person that liberals hate almost as much as Donald Trump, it's Sheriff David Clark. This outspoken badass is always at the helm calling out the left's antics, and pulls no punches when it comes to exposing the corruption going on in our country, no matter who happens to be president. Now liberals' heads are spontaneously exploding across America today, after Trump just hired the sheriff in a key position within his administration. In a breaking report, we are learning that Sheriff David Clark will now entrusted with the safety of all Americans, as he's now being put into a lead role at the Department of Homeland Security. In this position, Clark will serve as Assistant Secretary at DHS Office of Partnership and Engagement, appointed as the liaison between state and local law enforcement officials. JS Online reported. Milwaukee County Sheriff David A. Clark Jr. will leave office next month to accept a federal appointment as an Assistant Secretary in the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. He will work in the department's Office of Partnership and Engagement as a liaison with state, local and tribal law enforcement and governments. I'm looking forward to joining that team, Clark said Thursday afternoon on the Vicki McKenna talk show on 1130 WISN radio. Clark said one of his responsibilities would be to take complaints of shortcomings in the Department of Homeland Security. They feel like they're being ignored, Clark said of his counterparts in local law enforcement. The position of Assistant Secretary does not require Senate confirmation. Clark has said in the past that it would be difficult to turn down a job offer from President Donald Trump if he was asked to join the administration. Clark will work for Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly, a retired Marine general. The department was created in the wake of 9/11. The department's duties range from counterterrorism to enforcing immigration laws. Clark said Thursday that he had informed Governor Scott Walker of his decision to take the federal post and expected to advise Walker on the appointment of a successor to complete his term. He would have been up for re-election in November 2018. Liberals wasted no time curling up into fetal positions over the news, as they know that Homeland Security now had a hardened badass in charge who isn't going to sit idly by as their cop-hating antics continue to deteriorate our national security. President Trump's choice for Sheriff Clark is such a complete 180 from the leadership that Obama put into place during his tenure as president, where he put Muslim terrorist and ISIS-supporting douchebag Mohammed al-Abiri into a key position up at DHS, who then went on to whitewash any mention of Islam or Muslims in Homeland Security's counterterrorism training manuals, while at the same time praising ISIS over Twitter and celebrating the inevitable return of the Muslim Caliphate. It's so refreshing to finally have a president who truly loves this country and is sticking to his vow to drain the swamp while at the same time putting the most competent and loyal Americans into these key government positions. Given Sheriff Clark's incredible record for enforcing law and order through his decades of public service, there's no doubt in my mind that he will do a remarkable job up at DHS. You know that liberal snowflakes and cop-hating thugs are absolutely furious over this news. Here's further details from Politico last week about Clark's position at DHS, before his position was confirmed on Thursday by the White House. The White House is considering David Clark, the sheriff of Milwaukee County, Wisconsin, for a position at the Department of Homeland Security, 3 people familiar with the administration's planning told Politico. Clark is in line to be appointed as Assistant Secretary at DHS Office of Partnership and Engagement, which coordinates outreach to state, local and tribal officials and law enforcement. The position does not require Senate confirmation. A senior administration official cautioned it's not a done deal yet. Clark, a longtime supporter of President Donald Trump, has long been rumored as a possible candidate for a job in the administration and met with Trump in November at Trump Tower. He also spoke at the Republican National Convention in Cleveland last year. He has come under fire in recent days amid revelations about the case of Terrell Thomas, who died of dehydration last year at the Milwaukee County Jail after guards turned off the water in his cell. Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, a Republican, has said he won't remove Clark from office over Thomas' death. Clark also has faced criticism for participating in a National Rifle Association-backed trip to Russia in 2015, where he and other members of the group's delegation reportedly met with Dmitry Rogozin, one of Russian President Vladimir Putin's deputies. Rogozin was sanctioned by the U.S. government in 2014. Clark did not respond to requests for comment. A DHS spokesman declined to comment, as did a White House spokeswoman. Breaking: Trump just caught his White House Muslim advisor in sickening plot. Here's what was seconds from happening. Ever since Trump became president, insiders within his administration have been doing everything in their power to sabotage his position as president and take him out. Trump has been on the warpath lately to discover who these rats are, by testing people close to him to see where their loyalties lie. In a breaking report, we are now learning about an elaborate coup that was set up by a nasty Muslim within his administration, who the liberal media is now working overtime to protect. But unfortunately for liberals, the cat is out of the bag, and now the little spy they were using to get dirt on Trump is finally being ousted, as a furious Trump kicks his person to the curb where they rightfully belong. Liberals will do whatever it takes to take Trump down, even if that means leaking classified information to the mainstream media and violating our national security secrets to accomplish their mission. The leaks coming from the White House have been a constant pain in Trump's side ever since he took office, but now we are finally learning who's been behind the scenes orchestrating this BS the entire time, after this person fell for Trump's trap by running their fat mouth to the liberal media. After laying a trap to finally catch the traitors, we are finally learning the identity of the main leaker who credible sources are identifying as Deputy National Security Advisor Dinah Habib Powell. 2 separate sources from within the National Security Council have broken their silence, revealing that Dinah Powell has been the one leaking derogatory information about Trump to left-leaning media outlets over the past several months. Got News reported. We all know she slept her way to the top of NSC, working her way from the receptionist desk at Dick Armey's office, notes one NSC staffer. She has 0 qualifications and, given her ties to Huma Abedin, is a security risk. Got News also went on to say, Dinah Powell is frequently referred to as the Republican Huma Abedin and is a member of Hillary Clinton's Vital Voices. Powell is a good friend of Huma Abedin, who worked with her husband at the Clinton-linked consultancy Teneo. Powell also has connections to Obama's confidant Valerie Jarrett. Disturbingly, Powell is very good buddies with Hillary's former advisor and Muslim Brotherhood agent Huma Abedin and Obama's former advisor Valerie Jarrett, as the trio have bonded immensely over their shared Muslim faith. Not only does Powell have very close ties with the Muslim Brotherhood, but dined with Abedin and the wife of wealthy Saudi Prince Al-Walid bin Talal back in 2013. But that's not the only person who's been working overtime to betray President Trump, as we are just now learning. Two separate National Security Council sources have confirmed that National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster has also been leaking classified information to the liberal media as a way to take down the president. McMaster has not only had public clashes with President Trump, but was a vocal opponent of Trump's America First policy, and spends his spare time rubbing elbows with the cesspool of Washington, D.C. elites who care little about anyone but themselves. Despite President Trump's efforts in recent months to rid himself of the traitors infiltrating his inner circle, it still appears that there is an abundance of these idiots running around pretending to be his buddies so they can continue to feed leaks to the liberal media, who are all too eager to continue to print these inflammatory and oftentimes bogus anti-Trump stories. There's rumors swirling that heads at the White House are about to start trolling, as the Business Insider reported that Trump seems to be considering a sweeping shakeup of his West Wing staff amid the media firestorm that has followed his abrupt decision to fire Comey. As for this Muslim idiot Dinah Powell with ties to the Muslim Brotherhood, she needs to not only be removed, but have her radical ties to known terrorists exposed before she can just simply move on to another job in Washington, D.C. America deserves to have politicians leading America that we can truly trust. And if that means that President Trump has to remove every last freaking one of these morons, then so be it, so be it.